Hello, everyone. It is the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And ladies and gentlemen, the Pittsburgh Steelers are back. The 2022 NFL season is now underway. They have returned to Latrobe for the first time in a few years due to the pandemic. And it's great to see not only them there, but also the fans are back there as well, even though Ryan really isn't a big fan of the whole thing, but we'll try to steer him in a correct way anyway. But I do want to mention, also that Scarpino has survived our, as Ian mentioned, our probationary period, and he will now become a full-fledged member of the podcast crew. So the updated animated cover image that you see if you're watching, it's in the upper right-hand corner right now. That's going to have his face on. And I'm envisioning, scary as shit, man. I'm envisioning something like the Metallica Black Album thing, our faces there like that, maybe.
I like that.
Yeah, something to that effect.
Sad but true.
Sad but true. Well played.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, very glad to have Ryan aboard on a permanent basis. And man, I'm so excited to have football back. I went over and watched my son a little bit tonight. They had some 7-on-7 going on at the high school. Just fun to watch the kids having a good time. And that too. As everybody's already started into their beverages. So let's get to it, guys, because they finished up their second day of training camp, but already people are screaming for Kenny Pickett. In fact, I think the first guy screamed after Mitch Trubisky's first two throws. And kudos to that guy. First of all, kudos to him. We know we all did it to get a reaction, and he got a reaction. People start tweeting about it. I mentioned it. It's funny. I'm sorry it is, because you just know it was going to happen anyway. So there we go. But in much more serious news, so far, it's the same as it was coming out of the spring. It is Mitchell Trubisky. It is Mason Rudolph. It is Kenny Pickett. Ben, is that the correct order for July 28th, 2022?
Yes, absolutely. Well,
because
Mason Rudolph sucks, as he's demonstrated over the past 4 years. Okay, first, if Mason Rudolph ends up winning the starter's job week 1, as Ryan hopes he will, we're fucked. If Mason Rudolph is the best quarterback on this roster, we may as well write the season off. It's over. He sucks. I really hope, if you're watching this, Mason, that you say fuck that guy and go out and prove me wrong. I really hope you do.
Yes.
But I don't
Mason,
think you will. I don't think you will. I have no faith in you. Sorry, bud. And so, they signed Trubisky to come in and be the bridge guy. They drafted a first-round quarterback that I don't really love. Sorry, Pitt fans. I know you're going to hate me for that, but I just don't really have a great deal of faith in this guy either. So let's root for the defense and the run game.
All right. And Ian, same question to you. Does Mike Tomlin have the order correct as of July 28th?
In the words of the great Allen Iverson, we're talking about practice. We're talking about practice.
Practice. That's right. We are.
Not a game. Not a game.
Not a game.
Practice. They haven't even this is literally 2 days into camp. This is they're just warming up basically. They're not even trying anything. And I was listening to the radio this morning, and I think they had a quote from, I think it was Trubisky. And he said, the first couple of days of practice, you've worked out with some of the receivers in the off season, but you're just trying things. You're seeing, if you can make a throw and if that guy can go get the ball, or you're trying things you wouldn't even think of trying on game day just to see what you can and can't do. So you now being the general audience of our show and the Steelers Twitterverse should put about as much weight in practice statistics as you put in the NFL top 100 ratings or a player's Madden rankings. So if someone's tweeting Mitch Trubisky was 3 for 4 in practice, or, you know, Mason Rudolph was 5 for 5 in practice. You should care about as much about that as you do for whatever Minkah Fitzpatrick's Madden rating is.
Well said. Well said. And Ryan, I'm just going to give you that same question. Is the order correct right now the way Mike has it? And yes, I can call him Mike. We're both over 50.
Quite frankly. Yeah, it is. And you know, poor, what is it? Chris Oladokin? Poor Chris Oladokin.
Is that how you say it? I still have Oladokin? Oladokin? I don't know.
When he makes the team, I'll learn how to say his name.
There you go.
So, I mean, all right. So I look at it this way. At least yesterday and today, all three guys got like 12 snaps.
Yeah. So
Pickett, Trubisky, and Mason all got 12 snaps. And I do agree to an extent that it's just practice. It's just whatever. But I will say Kenny Pickett, his last pass of yesterday was picked off, and then his first pass today was picked off. Yesterday, I've seen the video. I mean, if you're struggling to see that against, no disrespect, third, fourth, fifth teamers, what are you going to do against the ones from other teams?
I believe his name today, Carlins Platel.
Yeah, and then today it was off a not pre-snap penalty, but it was off a penalty, so it was a free play, and it looked like he took a shot. So, regardless of that, Ian, I agree that you know I don't want to like. Okay, yes, so there are people out there, and God bless them that tweet preseason, not even preseason, practice stats. But I will say that I'm gonna tangent here. If there's an open competition, and it sounds like there is because they're getting an even amount of snaps. I think so. And Adam Crowley brought this up today. If there's an open competition and Kenny Pickett can't beat out Mason Rudolph, we got some issues. If they're just gonna redshirt Pickett, which may be the case, I don't know that. I'm not quite sure why they wouldn't have an open competition because Mitch Trubisky is more successful in the NFL than Mason, but they're both wild cards. So go back to Ian. It's only a second day of practice. We'll see what happens.
Right.
But I do think eventually, so to answer your question, right now I don't care, but eventually, what is that going to look like?
Well, Ryan, that leads me to this. If I'm drafting a quarterback at the 20th spot of the first round, you're right. I have some huge concerns if a 4-year guy who has had nothing but ups and downs is playing better than he is. I'm going to have some concerns. However, I've also got to be patient. But the problem with Pickett is that he's not your traditional first-round quarterback because he's older. He's got more experience. Do you redshirt a guy this old?
Older means closer to your ceiling, man. It doesn't mean more experience. It means closer to your ceiling.
Right. And when I say more
and that was one of my gripes when he came out with him, when evaluating him. It's like, how much better is he going to get than he is now? Mm-hmm. So, I guess we'll see. I keep hoping that what he can do is kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to be Tom Brady, but follow a path similar to Tom Brady's. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a very strong arm quarterback when he came out.
No.
But he was smart. Mm-hmm. And he developed his game within his own abilities and played to his strengths. And if Pickett is smart enough to do that and figure it out, he'll be okay. And if he's not, well, probably not.
And I'll just say this: did he look really good his senior year because he had been there 100 years and it was? I mean, like, listen, I'm rooting for all three guys, and whether even if it's Mason, I don't give a shit because like if Mason does earn this, that says more about the decisions they made bringing Trubisky in and drafting Pickett.
Oh yeah,
for
for
sure.
So,
Yeah.
and listen, and I love the Steelers, but this organization isn't always perfect, and doesn't. It's not like they don't make mistakes.
they absolutely never make mistakes. Ask
Ryan,
Steelers
what are you
Twitter.
talking about?
Yeah.
Steelers Twitter.
But-
They do not make mistakes.
But I
The
will
Sunshine Crew says they never make mistakes, no matter what,
Never.
even when they actually did.
And I know I talk a lot on the show, and that's probably why you lose viewers. But back and people keep saying, well, Ben didn't beat anybody out in 2004. Okay, Tommy Maddox and Charlie Batch in 2004 were proven veterans.
Yep.
I don't think the Steelers gave a shit if Ben played or not. The fact that he did play and was that great was not even a slight at them.
Bonus.
I just think it was like, wow, shit, we got this guy. Because their offense with Maddox or Batch would have made the playoffs that year. Their defense was great. This team right now is not even close to that 2004 team. Their defense might be, maybe. No, fuck it. Their defense right now, despite
Not
having
as good as
three
the 04 team.
superstars, is
They're
not
not.
as good as 2004.
Or even close to 08. or 10.
So we're getting back to the open competition thing. If they didn't care if Ben played in 2004, and I know it's different coaches,
Very different. It is.
personnel, but if they're just going to redshirt Pickett this year because they think that they're okay, I think that's blasphemy.
I don't really have an issue with redshirting quarterbacks the rookie year.
Listen, if you draft that old of a quarterback at that position,
Yeah.
That's where I'm with you on that.
I'm not saying
problem with that.
they should tell him he's never going to play. I'm not saying they should leave him at third team all year long. But if he's the backup to Trubisky this year, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, if this was
if
a
he's the
2021
3 all year, I'm not.
2021
Agreed.
years old, I'd be fine with the red shirt, but not at his age. I don't see it.
Well, he's 24.
Yeah,
and Trubisky, Trubisky and Rudolph are only 3 years older,
right?
Even though they've got, Trubisky's got 5 years experience.
I think he does.
Yeah,
Yeah, Trubisky's got 5.
Yeah,
and Rudolph's got 4. So,
So, Ian, when a fan goes and sits there in Latrobe and watches these quarterbacks, and we've all kind of agreed,
I'm already out of beer.
Nobody cares if the guy goes 5 for 5, 3 for 6. It doesn't matter. What are you looking for that's going to help you make a decision of these 3 guys? Because let's remember too, this is the first time Mike Tomlin's been in this situation.
Right. Oh yeah. I think what you don't know as a fan, and you don't know it during the game either, but you want to see them hitting their targets, right? But you don't know what the target is, right? Maybe it's a design play that they want to stretch the field down the sideline, and depending on what the defense is in and all that, whatever. I think what you want to see mostly is you want to see them hitting guys in stride. And I know you're running through a bunch of different receivers, a bunch of guys who are undrafted free agents, that guys you've never thrown to before, so the timing might not be there. But, one of Mason Rudolph's biggest problems has always been that he waits for guys to be college open before he throws them the ball. Absolutely. And you just don't have that kind of time in the NFL. That's why Mason Rudolph got benched for Duck Hodges, because Duck Hodges would actually try and throw guys open and lead them with the ball and hit them in stride. Did that also get Duck in trouble throwing interceptions because he had a weak ass arm? Yes, it did. But he also, Mason Rudolph doesn't make that throw to James Washington in that Cincinnati game that we won, right? He doesn't. He was playing scared in that game. He was playing terrified. Do
you think that had anything to do with getting fucking hit in the head with his own helmet the week before?
No,
I'm gonna go.
I think he has always.
I'm not
played
disagreeing
like that. He's
with
kind of
you.
a little bitch.
I'm not disagreeing with you about throwing receivers open.
Yeah,
but that was the week before that Cincinnati game.
True.
Yeah.
So, do you not think he was a little bit I don't?
He was playing scared. He was playing terrified.
Yeah.
And that was the second big hit he took that year, because he got smacked by Earl Thomas earlier in the year.
Right.
Yes, I'm being a prick, but I agree. I agree.
You're not being a prick.
You're
You're playing devil's advocate, and you're not being a prick at all.
Yeah, it's a very fair.
I kind of am.
So what I'm saying is, of the things you can actually look for in practice, right? Because you don't know who they're supposed to throw to or what route they're supposed to throw, or even if the receiver's in the right spot, right? I mean, you got an undrafted guy out there who just got handed a playbook, and the quarterback might throw the ball in the right spot and the receiver might be running the wrong route or something. So, that's not always on the quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback and the receiver have got to be on the same page.
Right.
Especially
if it's like a sideline out route that if the receiver runs a fly, like Antonio Brown did a few times and Ben threw an out route and, then the ball lands like right on the sideline and Brown's like, where the fuck's the ball? That's why they have to be on the same page. So, that's not on the quarterback if he's expecting the receiver to cut and the guy keeps running straight.
Absolutely.
But as far as, crossing routes, things like that go, you want to see them hitting guys in stride. You want to see receivers snatching the ball out away from their body and not letting it get into their chest. But yeah, quarterbacks are tough to evaluate when you're sitting, in the bleachers or on the hillside at Latrobe. The one thing I will say I know there's no Steelers media that watch our show, so I can say this anyways, but if someone so happened to get a field pass, you should make sure that you stand on the right sideline of whatever field Mitch Trubisky is on, because if you're on the left sideline, you could be in danger.
As Ryan will attest, the press have their own little area, and they don't get a choice between the right and the left.
Yeah. So are you talking? Are you facing the offense or are you behind the offense?
Exactly.
Because if you're behind the offense, you're okay.
Good to go.
If you're facing
if
the
you're
offense,
facing them,
nope, you can't go there.
Yeah.
Trubisky's funny because the fact that at this level that he still struggles to throw left, and for those that don't know the dynamics of the quarterbacking position, when you roll, if you're right-handed, you roll to your right, it's just naturally easier to do versus left, which is going to require more of your shoulders, your hips, even your knees and your feet to get aligned to the target. And a lot of guys like an Aaron Rodgers, a Patrick Mahomes, you can get away with that shit because you're so talented with your arm strength. Yeah, Ben could do it.
Well, not Ben so much last year.
No. Prime Ben.
Younger Ben. Prime Ben was a machine. It didn't matter where he was.
Yes, but the fact that Trubisky just has not been able to master that part is definitely troubling. And who knows, maybe he has this season. I don't know, but it does go to Ian's point about being careful there. For sure. Just a quick reminder that we are proudly presented by DEK Roofing of South Florida. DEK serves Broward and the Palm Beach counties, whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, or condos, or multifamily. I almost forgot it. Contact DEK Roofing today by visiting deckroofing.com.
Multifamily, Ian.
Multifamily.
I was all over that. You were the one.
You guys nailed it. Yeah, I just throw it in there now. Any other items on the quarterbacks to discuss before we move on to other things?
Nobody's given any reports about Chris Olodokun.
I have seen and heard very little. The few people I know that have been at camp,
he hasn't taken
right.
He hasn't taken one snap in team.
None
in 2 days.
Nope.
Wow.
No,
that's kind of messed up.
But I mean, I'll bet right now he's on the practice squad.
Well, we all know that the injury bug happens, and let's hope it doesn't happen at this position. But he could go from a guy who's sitting there with his thumb up his rear end for weeks and weeks and weeks, and boom, now all of a sudden he's third string, and it's that quick. I mean, ask Roethlisberger; he knows.
One last thing about quarterbacks. I know I've talked a lot tonight, but I think the biggest thing is that, and I hope this is what they do, but there's no besides Mason and Deontay and Mason and maybe a little bit of Claypool and Muth. There's no familiarity amongst eligibles in quarterbacks. Mason obviously has the upper hand in that. Mm-hmm. But what I want to see is each quarterback get an opportunity with different eligibles and to see how they do. I don't care who it is, because
I agree.
I don't know if you can necessarily fairly judge a quarterback, even Mason included,
nice
with these guys, unless you switch it up.
Mark's
So
drumming again.
I don't know.
Stop drumming.
I'm not drumming. No drumming.
He was squeaking and drumming, all kinds of sounds over there.
Pouring another belt of whiskey. Ryan, to your point,
I agree with what Ryan said.
I
I think once we get into the actual preseason too, I think we're going to see, multiple guys with different receivers as we go. I mean, heck, there's 3 preseason games. They may let each of the 3 quarterbacks start one.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be fascinating for me to see what he does.
But with that, then you got first teamers sitting out certain games.
Right.
I know, like, even somebody like Deontay Johnson, and we'll probably talk about that, but
we're getting to him next, buddy.
I almost I mean, this is an opportunity where Tomlin, okay, on defense, yeah, whatever. But for Tomlin, on offense, he's going to be like, I don't give a shit how old you are. If I tell you to fucking go in the game, go in the game. Like this is this is they're so young on offense that
well, and that's it. They're so young, they're not going to be able to sit anybody out. The only guys that are going to get preseason games off are on defense.
Exactly.
Maybe you give Najee Harris a little bit of a lighter load on offense in a preseason game.
Yep.
But other than that, everybody's playing the whole game. Or not the whole game, but everybody's playing in the preseason. No one's getting time off. You're not giving.
There has to be that. Yeah. Like, there has to be a hodgepodge on offense just to see what you got. You're right on defense. Your Cams and your TJs and your Minkas. R.I.P. Minka for falling off a bike, but we all fuck up. But you're right. Like, on offense, like if it's if it's the fourth quarter of preseason game 2. And Kenny Pickett's out there with Chase and Deontay, cool. I just want to see what he can do. Like, I don't give a shit. And we got to put the egos aside and all that stuff. And I know we talked about Latrobe earlier. If you want to hear my fucking thing, you can hear it a little bit. But I'm just saying, there is no room for ego on offense at all.
Let me I do want to switch it over to Deontay Johnson, because yesterday it looked very much like he was doing his best TJ Watt impersonation.
Yeah, exactly. Watt set the tone for it last year. Well, I would call it a soft holdout. And just real quick, I'll just set the stage. That's better.
Johnson did very little yesterday with the team. He was a little more active today, I guess. Ben, why is this different than what TJ Watt was doing? And I do believe
it's not.
No,
it's the same. So? It's the same as what TJ Watt was doing last year. And no, I don't really fault him for it either. Look, guys, I know this sucks. I hate it.
Yeah.
Just like you guys do. Just like everybody who's watching this, listening to this, hates it.
Mm-hmm.
But receivers of his caliber are making $20 million a year now.
Okay. DK Metcalf just got a shit ton of money.
What did he get per year?
24, I think it was.
Yeah.
Like 3 at 74.
And Deontay's not going to get 24, but let's say $20 million over 5 years is $100 million. So if you go out, you are risking losing $100 million if you injure yourself significantly. And that's what it comes down to. The money is so astronomical now.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are in this position where they're like, what do I do? I want to practice. I want to get better, but there's this $100 million cloud hanging over my head that could potentially be derailed if I'm seriously injured in practice or in a preseason game. Right. So
yep.
I get it. It sucks, but I get it. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about it. I mean, I don't blame the guy. By the same token, I hate it. I really do.
I cannot disagree with anything you just said. Ian, what's your viewpoint of it?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much just agree with Ben. And, Deontay, a lot of the noise around the Deontay situation hasn't really come from Deontay. and we're in day 2 of practice. It's kind of like a soft holdout, but he's there, right? He's not throwing a tantrum. I mean, let's not forget, like, Hines Ward, arguably the most beloved Steelers receiver since the 1970s, held out and later regretted it, but he did hold out and didn't show up at camp and things like that. So and then he came later and signed his contract and all that.
Remember how psyched we were when we saw him on the sidelines for that preseason game?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, it's part of the business of the league. It kind of sucks that it's that way. But it's business. But as we've talked about on the show before, I don't think they're going to pay him. I don't think so either. I think at the end of the day, he's going to have to play this year on the last year of his contract and see what happens in free agency next year.
I think that next year he's going to get franchised.
Maybe.
Yeah, which will be a lot of money.
Yes.
But I think that next year they're going to tag him. Their quarterback room is cheap.
Yeah.
I think this year he's going to prove himself through his play.
I would say maybe with the contingency of if they get Chris Boswell's deal done, because if they don't, then Boswell's more important.
They'll get Boswell's deal done. I mean, kickers aren't that expensive, man. They're not that hard to fit under the cap. And he's not quite going to get Justin Tucker money, but it's going to be close.
Right. He deserves to be in that top 3.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And he's been well paid thus far.
Yeah.
But he's going to be even more well paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what, kicking is a nice living these days.
Right?
Not like it used to be, man.
But kickers are also extremely valuable.
Oh,
they really are.
A little bit of pressure, too.
So,
just a little bit.
Yeah, those guys like that are just ice cold. Yeah. I do not get it.
Scarps, we're just talking Deontay here. He's in the midst of his soft holdout. And what do you think? I mean, is he doing the right thing for him?
Oh, absolutely. I don't hate him. I hate the market. Sure. And if I was in his shoes, I would. Yeah. If I was in his shoes, I'd be much more athletic. But also, I would do the same thing. My only thing is, and I tweeted this earlier, is that he has no familiarity with Mitch or Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Although it's the irony is that Mason's probably best success with a wideout is with Deontay Johnson, 60 targets and 45 grabs. That's pretty decent.
Yeah.
But I'm on a tangent again, but Big Ben can't just enjoy retirement. He has to just fucking always insert himself.
Yeah, but that's just Ben being Ben. I mean,
yeah, and I'm
so conditioned to it and now when he does it, I don't even pay attention. I'm like, whatever.
I'm tired of it.
Scarp says PTSD.
No, and but Ben on WDV today said
he clarified
Deontay deserves a contract, and I sit there and be like, I know what it makes sense because how many times last year did Deontay bail Ben out?
Oh, a bunch.
Sure.
And I know Deontay had some drops last year with Ben, but my point being is that familiarity is with Ben and Deontay, and Ben is no longer here. Mm-hmm. So as much as I support his decision to hold out, there's going to come a time when he's going to have to play, and the only guy on that roster with familiarity is Mason. So I could see some early games. If it is Mitch, I could see some early issues because it's not Ben.
And I would add to this, even with Ben, he had some miscommunication issues.
No doubt.
There were. And
it wasn't. It's not communication. It's the receiver and the quarterback coming to the line of scrimmage and seeing the same thing.
Right.
And running a route based upon what they see. There's no talking.
No,
no communication other than, maybe some hand signals, eye contact. That's it at the line of scrimmage. That is all.
Right. That's what I mean by communicate. I'm not talking about.
I got to give Antonio Brown props. He and Ben generally
this orange jumpsuit the other day.
No, that was fucking ridiculous and embarrassing, honestly. And I'm not even a fan anymore. But I feel pretty. Are you fucking high?
Not yet.
Jesus.
Anyway,
more minutes.
Antonio Brown as a Steelers receiver very often at the line of scrimmage was on the same page with Ben. Mm-hmm. He tipped his hand a whole bunch of times, and the defender knew the ball was coming to him, and he still caught it.
Yeah.
Because he'd look at Ben and smile. And I'm like, would you please fucking stop doing that? Jesus.
And it didn't matter.
It didn't. He was that good. But those guys very, very often were on the same page. And yeah, sometimes Ben would hold the ball like a half a second longer to see if AB was running the route he was supposed to run.
Yeah.
Then he'd throw it because AB would freelance, as Ian pointed out earlier. You know, he'd run a 9 when he was supposed to be running 7.
You'll never, you'll never hear me say a bad thing about Antonio Brown's ability as a wide receiver.
Right?
Never.
Or his work ethic.
Right.
He has. I'm just going to say it. None of you have to agree with me, so don't. Mm-hmm. He's got some mental health issues and he needs to work out.
Well, yeah, and we'll leave it at that and move on to some other things. I do want to remind everybody that we are part of the Pigskin Podcast Network, and that means we are glad to be tied in with DraftKings Sportsbook. And I'm jumping the gun a little bit early on this one, but I want to get it out there because I think it's pretty awesome. The next generation of fantasy sports is almost here. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now and sign up with promo code TPPN. Click the Rainmakers tile and opt in so you can be ready for the next drop. Play free for millions of prizes all football season and build the ultimate NFT fantasy franchise with Rainmakers Football. That's promo code TPPN only at DraftKings. And that kicks off on August 1st.
Selling NFTs?
Yes, they are into it.
Okay.
And DraftKings seems to strike gold with everything else that they do. So I'm just going to assume they're going to strike gold with this as well. As far as other camp battles, we talked quarterback, left guard. I think it was Alan Saunders today on Twitter made the comment that there were as many as like 5 or 6 different guys that lined up at left guard today, which is not necessarily abnormal. But I think most of us see it as it's probably Kevin Dotson or maybe
Kendrick Green.
Thank you.
It's Dotson.
Well, I agree, and I before Ian has to take his newborn to bed, I'm going to let him have a couple minutes here to address that.
Actually, I'm not as convinced as Ben is that it's Dotson.
Oh boy!
Well, and here's the thing that we don't know is they've got their 3rd offensive line coach in 3 years. Mm-hmm. The rumors were that whether it was it
was Chris Morgan,
if it was Morgan or Clem last year, but the rumors were that someone in the coaching staff didn't really like Dotson or his work ethic, and some other stories leaked out about him. Yep. I don't have inside sources, so I don't have a source to contradict what Ben said if it was Morgan or if it was Clem or whoever. But the rumors were, and there were stories out there on certain websites that Dotson's work ethic was bad and things, and the coaches weren't impressed and things like that. So, but a whole new offensive, at least line coaching staff this year with Pat Meyer. So, it's a blank slate for these guys to come and improve what they can do, and the Steelers invested a 4th-round pick in Dotson, a 3rd-round pick in Green. So, in my eyes, at least the kind of draft capital is more or less the same, that we know that they'll stick with their draft picks usually through at least 2 seasons. Like, what was his name? The cornerback from Utah who couldn't cover anybody but was good on special teams. Brian Allen. Allen. They kept him for 2 years on the active roster and then brought him to a 3rd training camp before they finally cut him. So, and he was a 5th-round pick. So guys they spend draft picks on, they're willing to kind of let hang around and see if they can make it and give them every opportunity to succeed. And,
I think with Allen, they really believed the guy had ability. He just couldn't put it together.
And
I would agree with that.
He was decent on special teams too, so there was a reason to kind of keep him around.
He was really long.
He was a good athlete.
Yeah, but just like not. It was just he was just awkward.
And inconsistent.
Yeah.
Really inconsistent.
Yep.
They hoped that he would eventually put together some kind of consistency with his game. The light bulb would go off.
Yeah.
And it never did.
Never did.
But that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Even with first round picks. I mean, it happens all the time. So, like, I know people get pissed off about stuff, but, like, it happens all the time throughout the draft. Like, you take a flyer on somebody.
That was Ryan telling you people in Pittsburgh not to be too disappointed if Kenny Pickett doesn't work.
Laying the groundwork, baby.
I've said this before on this show, and I'll say it again probably a whole bunch of times, but, everyone at this level is super athletic, right? The guys who are freak athletes get taken early in the draft. Yep. And really what separates people once you actually get into the league is what's between your ears and your willingness to put in the work, right? If you have the mental capacity to read a playbook and understand it and then adapt it on the field and have that ability to see and react without thinking, that's going to get you a lot farther than someone who's just playing on athleticism.
And studying the playbook would be helpful too. I mean, I wouldn't want that written into my contract.
Kyler Murray.
Well, just so you know,
Scars.
Only a mere hours ago, the Arizona Cardinals amended that from that contract. So he no longer has to put in 4 hours. There was no longer.
He has to put in 4 hours of video games.
Not anymore.
Madden.
Not anymore.
No. He's got to play Madden for 4 hours a week and be the GM so he can trade players.
Now that is a tall order.
So
that's no longer part of the contract.
Jeez. Unbelievable. We have breaking news here.
$230 million, $160 million guaranteed. Now, don't get me wrong. With quarterbacks these days, you cannot be cheap. You can't.
No, doesn't matter.
You just can't anymore. The wage scale's out of fucking control. But given the $160 million to Kyler Murray, I'd be feeling a little
I hope
looseness in my colon.
Well. I wouldn't have done it, but
fuck, man. But what are your options?
No, and that's always the problem.
That's the thing. It's like, okay, there aren't even 32 starting caliber quarterbacks in the world.
Right.
NFL starters in the world. There aren't. That's not a thing.
Well, Lamar Jackson's same spot.
But, okay, well, now I'll give you a better example. Would you rather have Lamar or Kyler Murray?
Lamar.
I take Lamar every time.
Yes.
7 days a week, twice on Sunday.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And he plays for the Ravens. For all you
and I hate the fucking Ravens. Right. But I like Lamar. He's a good dude. Lamar's a good guy. I'm sorry.
No O-line last year.
I really hate that Lamar. You know what? Lamar's a good guy. And I hate the fact that he's a good guy, just like I hate the fact that Tom Brady is good at Twitter.
Yeah.
Really good at Twitter. I fucking hate Tom Brady. Really want to, but every time he does something like cool on Twitter, I'm like, wait, I hate that guy.
But he's isn't he more tolerable, though, that he's not in New England anymore?
Oh, he's way more tolerable.
He's
still a dick. Fuck that guy.
Of course.
Fuck him.
Yeah, I don't have the same vitriol now that he's out of New England, but yeah,
it's not as hateful anymore. But fuck, man, I was there. I was in Heinz Field when Brady scored a touchdown, and they did a review, and there was a commercial break, and after the commercial break, he spiked the ball. He spiked the ball as hard as he fucking could after the commercial break when they ruled it a touchdown. He was still standing on the field. I was like,
really?
Dude, dick move. Seriously? 3 minutes later,
but
you're going to spike the fucking ball? You're that competitive, you fucking asshole?
Yes.
Fuck him.
But yes.
Fucking prick.
But right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan, since we're talking about him, did you ever have any opportunity to come cross paths with Tom Brady the few times the Pats were in town?
And on the road. So there was always so this is funny. Anytime there was an opportunity to meet like a legend.
Yeah.
And I've probably said this on the show, but anytime there was an opportunity to meet like somebody
that was like fame guy.
Yeah. Like I'd always after the game, like after we made sure our guys were okay, if they were still on the field, I'd approach them and say, hey, just what Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, like I'd seek those fucking guys out. Like, listen, if there's one thing I did during my time there that was like sort of like I don't want to say fanboy. I don't even want to call it that because I
wouldn't blame you.
But it was like, you know what? I'm never gonna have this opportunity again. Yep. I'm gonna, so it was Peyton Manning or Drew Brees or even Tom Brady. Fuck yeah, always would seek those guys out. And like, I always had Steelers gear on, so like Tom didn't know me from the offensive quality control guy, and I don't even give a shit. Or the defensive quality control guy, because he probably thought, you thought you had me this time, motherfucker. Yeah, I thought that fucking cover too high was gonna fool you, So
I was also in Hines when they beat the Pats, and that was fucking wonderful. But
11,
that was very, very, very infrequent. I fucking hate that guy. Fucking hate him.
So
because he's so goddamn good.
Yes. 2011, my second year there as an intern. What set the tone for that game was the
Lamar
Steelers opening drive, though, was long. It was taxing, and they fucking scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
that killed the Patriots. But yeah, I'd always seek out guys. Anytime there was ever a chance a guy was like retiring, I'd be fuck, like, I don't like.
I don't blame you at all for that.
Somebody be like, "Hey, can I get so and so for it? Can I get so and so for
Seymour when he smacked Ben in the face?"
What'd you say?
Did you seek out Richard Seymour when he smacked Ben in the face?
That was my first year there. I was on the sidelines, and I wasn't paying attention to Ben at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we won that game like 35-3. So fuck that guy.
It was pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, seeing the replay you did, but like, what I loved about that was that O-line was ready to kill Richard Seymour.
Yeah.
And
I was really surprised they didn't. They were like,
and in the last couple years, since the vets have moved on, we haven't seen that sort of thing with Ben. And I can't believe I'm defending Ben on this show, but like, there's been times like when he's been knocked down, and I'm like, what the fuck is the O-line doing? Like, somebody should be killing somebody.
Yeah.
But yes. Anytime there was a guy on the verge of retire, I'm trying to think of a guy like, I mean, they're all fucking, but like, yes, but Brady, anytime, every time.
Trying to think of who would have been like Brady, Manning, as you mentioned, Breeze.
Because Breeze you didn't see often,
right?
Ray Lewis.
Yeah, I mean,
fuck that guy too.
All right, whatever.
No, I mean, really good player.
But no, I mean, even guys like, even some random guys from like Kyle Williams from the Bills, like dudes that just like put in the work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. For
sure.
Like
it wasn't even so much like notable guys as much as like, wow, this dude's been here like 12 years, and like, I just want to fucking meet this guy. Like, I want to fucking.
Sometimes that's the draw. They don't have to be a
but for Brady, but for Brady, like when you hear those fucking post game interviews, like when the mic is in there and he's talking to people, he said the same shit to me, and like, I'm like, fuck yeah, like whatever. Hey, good, yeah. Sorry for the viewers out there, they might take that.
They have a very different vision in their heads.
But it's like, I'm like, I'm never gonna see Tom Brady again. And then like 37 years later, it's like, hey, Tom, I got my fucking walker out there. It's like, it's incredible.
It's looking that way, isn't it? That guy just won't retire. Let's get back to little Steelers stuff here. Two other issues, and we've talked about it on previous shows, so we won't spend a lot of time on it. But obviously, there is a need for depth at both outside linebacker and inside linebacker. I would love to be able.
Inside is not as bad as outside.
Not as bad. But I would love to be able to just say, here, Alex Highsmith, here, TJ Watt, charge your batteries and go play the whole game. But that's not realistic. And
TJ takes himself out for a play all the time.
He does. He just goes so damn hard.
And I'm actually good with that. I
am too.
It's like if you need to pull yourself off the field for a play, so you can be at 100% the entire time you're out there, fucking do it.
There was a play last year. My daughter and I were at the Tennessee game, and there was like back-to-back plays. I think it was one where he was being held by like 4 guys, and it didn't even get called. And then another one where he laid the boom on somebody, but as it happens, I think he took it on his shoulder. And my daughter's like, "Why is he coming off the field?" And I'm like, "Honey, he just sacrificed his body twice in a row. He has every right to come off the field right now." For one play. And generally speaking, that's what happens. He comes off for one play, and goes right back in. And so to the point, Derek Tuska, you can't have Derek Tuska as your top reserve.
God, please, no.
No, they signed Jannard Avery.
Jannard Avery is there. He is.
And, okay, how is Avery going to work in space?
That's a great question, and I don't have the answer.
Yeah, listen,
I don't either.
You guys are sleeping on Chad Brown and Greg Lloyd, okay? Because they're just waiting in the wings, all right?
Oh,
they are not coming through that door, Scarps. They are not coming through that door, baby.
I'm an asshole.
I'm thinking that Greg Lloyd might be mean enough to still play, but probably too
and flexible as well.
A little broken down.
Is flexible.
Definitely mean enough still.
I mean, what Avery have? He's got like 7 career sacks over 4 years. I think he had 1 last year.
Yeah, but he was also kind of miscast. That I think his first year he was in a 3-4, and then he was playing like an outside backer in a 4-3, and he's not fast enough for that.
No.
So I think a 3-4 is a better spot for him. Actually, Avery reminds me a lot of Arthur Moats. That like he kind of has that ability to probably play inside or outside.
And maybe he can be that guy. He can be that guy who plays both spots and saves him a roster spot. We talked about this earlier in the offseason. Hopefully that's the deal. But
that'd be great.
No, I don't know that it would. But we'll see. What we need is quality depth at both positions.
Yes. I would lay the odds that we pick somebody up as teams start to shed salary. I would say it's 60-70% a sure thing we're picking somebody up. I mean, that's just kind of the way I feel about it. Scarps.
The problem is that TJ Watt is so good that anything less would be uncivilized. Isn't that Charles? But no, but listen, and I'm knocking on wood right now on my TV tray here. The biggest loss on this team would be TJ Watt. Like, that
best player.
Yes, and and listen, I don't want to say like he's MVP of the league. I don't want to put that. I'm just saying that like they need to think about that, because if TJ Watt ever got hurt, even though this defense still has Cam and Minka, it's done. Like they're done.
Yeah, they're not done, but they go back to average.
The QB. Yeah.
They go back to average. They become not a pressure defense any longer.
And then like this defense has struggled with TJ for a couple years now. So what is it going to be if TJ's not even around? So yeah, I'm a little surprised they haven't added depth to that position. I do agree that yes, there will be cuts and there will be free agent, whatever. But
there aren't going to be a lot of quality players.
I agree, Ben. Right. Absolutely. And this is no disrespect to Alex Highsmith.
No, he's a good player.
He's good. Is he ever going to be great? I don't think
probably
so.
Not. Probably
we'll find
not.
Out,
I think when Alex's contract is up, he's probably going to leave.
Yeah.
The Steelers, generally speaking, only pay one guy at a position, and Alex isn't going to supplant TJ Watt. That just isn't going to happen.
And I don't think Alex is even as good as Bud Dupree was.
Oh, no. I agree. No. But by the same token, I mean, Bud got that gigantic contract from Tennessee The Steelers couldn't assign him. They knew that.
No.
Bud was hurt, but I'm interested to see what Bud does this year.
I agree. Bud's game versus the Steelers last year was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he was motivated.
Definitely.
Obviously, he was motivated, but he had a fantastic game. And if he's healthy, coming into the season, look out.
Alex Highsmith reminds me a little bit of Clark Haggans. That like he's kind of solid all around. He's good against the run. He can give
Clark
you
was better against the run.
Clark was good against the run. Clark wasn't really. He was an okay pass rusher. He was never going to get to double-digit sacks, but he'd give you a handful every year.
Mm-hmm.
But he was kind of just a solid, not spectacular player. And then Lamar Woodley came in, and everyone's like, "Holy crap, he's like so much better."
What's odd about Clark Haggans is, I mean, as Scarps has pointed out a bunch of times, our buddy who supplanted Cam forever, Jesus. Defensive end. Why am I losing?
Aaron Smith.
Plays for the fucking Redskins now.
Ziggy Hood.
Ziggy Hood. Ziggy Hood.
I think he's still in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Clark Haggans was rocked out. I met him in person in Vegas once. I could not believe how defined and gigantic he was.
He was a good dude, yeah.
And he was afraid that he was going to be cut. Like that was his motivation. He was afraid constantly that the Steelers were going to cut him, that his career was over.
I get that.
And he played for like 10 years or something.
Ziggy Hood hasn't played in the league in like 3 years. Come on, man.
Ziggy? I don't know. I haven't looked him up.
Last time he was in the league was 2018 with the
Man, that's pre-pandemic.
All right, good.
The last 2 years don't count.
Jesus.
Yeah, last 2 years don't count. What the fuck, Ryan?
I'm just saying. Holy fuck.
Played for a long time.
Hey,
what the weird part about the whole thing was he kept Cam at second team forever.
You know I love you.
Yeah, I take no offense. You know that. I
got a story for you, God.
I just don't get it. It's like, why Cam was that fucking good? Like immediately, as soon as he started playing, he was making plays.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how the fuck did you guys keep him off the field that long? What is wrong with you?
So
anyway, and people will blame Tomlin.
Right. Keep talking.
Tomlin defers to his position coaches, whoever the hell was the defensive line coach then, which
John Mitchell.
Was Mitch.
John Mitchell.
It was Mitch.
Yeah.
Mitch made that choice. Mitch started Ziggy Hood over Cam Hayward.
Okay, so I remember this. 2013. I talk about this all the time. 2013 was the worst fucking year of my career, by the way.
It was the worst defense ever.
It was bad.
It was horrible, man. I can't believe we went 8-8.
Early Wednesday of that week, we were playing the Bears on Sunday Night Football. Early Wednesday that week, the news was broke to Ziggy Hood that he was no longer going to be the starter, and it was going to be Cam Hayward. And let's just say some shit was thrown. And I was in the realm of that and was like,
were you struck?
Oh, no. Fuck
no.
Thank
goodness. All right.
I mean,
actual monkey shit.
Man, I'm going to act tough, but if somebody can hit me with a chair or some shit, I'm fucking dead. Like, I don't get, especially if a multi-million-dollar athlete's throwing shit around. But he was pissed about that. But
I would be too. I get it.
I remember thinking, like, yeah, I understand what he's saying, but like Cam's like 30 times better, especially like when it comes to technique and stuff. So, yeah.
It's like Ziggy, man. If you would have shown that kind of fire when you played, then
as Casey Hampton said, and I've said this on the show many times, he's weight room strong. I'm grown ass man strong.
Yeah. I mean, I literally, straight up. I mean, people
could never say it better.
I have talked about that exact point a bunch of times. Yeah, like weight room strength doesn't mean shit. I'm sorry. I'm really strong for my size. That means dick in the real world. It means nothing.
No.
It's about athletic ability when you're out there on the field.
And
I know that. I get it.
I want to stay on the D line for a minute because, Tyson Alalu, who's coming off the broken ankle, he's on the PUP list, as is Minka. And Minka's is related to wrist injury from a bike accident. My understanding is he's been pretty active the last 2 days, and nobody's really overly concerned. Tyson, however, he's not out because of the ankle. It's because of his knee on his other leg. Mm-hmm. And you guys had a pretty good discussion going in our group chat about that. And I think
it was the girl group chat.
The girl group chat? The hell's that?
I don't know. I've heard repeatedly that the girl group chats on Twitter are really mean. So I thought I'd throw that out there.
I was gonna say I didn't know we had one.
Let's drink some more whiskey. Hey, Mark, I got one of these too.
Hey, beautiful. Bezel. But, it was pointed out that quite often when you have an ankle injury on one leg, it's the other leg, in this case, the knee, that is the problem because you're compensating. Right? Jesus, Ben.
Ben, that's all you, man. As I take a piss. But yes, that was all you.
Yeah, baby.
I'd like to point out for the listening and viewing audience that Ben was the one that said this was going off the rails tonight, and he's the one that's taking it off the rails.
Yes! I'm so proud.
He's like Bugs Bunny on the little pump car on the railroad, and he's taking us right off of it. Ian.
Yeah, we've seen this before with players that have had soft tissue injuries, and an ankle injury isn't necessarily a soft tissue injury, but nor is a knee necessarily. But like thinking back to Lamar Woodley, right? He pulled his hamstring, and then was never able to really fully recover from that. But then had other issues because he was trying to compensate for the hamstring being bad. Yep. Same with a handful of other players that have had hamstring or calf or pec or whatever other injuries happen. That those soft tissue injuries can linger, and then when you try and compensate for an injury that you have, impacts other things that you're doing. And there could be some of that with Tyson that I think Ben pointed out that it was one ankle and the other knee, but it's probably the other knee because he was trying to compensate for not putting as much weight on the ankle and put more stress on that knee. So injuries as you get older, you don't heal as fast, and one can kind of compound into another as it goes along. So yes. As much as I said on this show that I didn't like the Larry Ogunjobi signing, because you remember this, Ben?
Yeah, I do remember it. I think you were wrong still.
Okay. But the reason was I said objectively as a football fan, it was a good move. Subjectively as a Steelers fan, I wanted to be able to hate him because he's a dick, but he's our dick now. So
which is really weird because you were the guy who said that not all Ravens fans are bad people, which is objectively wrong.
Well, the Ogunjobi thing is where I ultimately wanted to get to because
it's a good thing we have him now and aren't
oh my God.
It's a great thing. Problem. Remember, he didn't get that deal in Chicago because he failed a physical.
Yeah.
If that injury comes up again, now we're really in trouble.
Before it's all said and done, he will play for all 4 AFC North teams.
Well, it seems to be he's on that right path. He's got one left, right?
Has he played for the Rats or the Bengals?
Bengals, Browns, Steelers. Yeah. He's going to go to Baltimore.
He's going to play for the Rats next, huh?
Yeah.
That sucks.
So that would be my concern there, and obviously it doesn't mean anything if Ogunjobi stays healthy, then we're good.
Well, what it also could mean is if Alualu stays on the PUP list, like Chris Wormley may actually get a roster spot.
Chris Wormley is going to get a roster spot anyway.
He probably is. They like him. I don't know.
More than likely.
No. He definitely is. He's going to be a depth player. He's going to be a guy who can come in on passing downs and give somebody a blow. And
that's fine as long as we don't play him on running downs because he sucks.
God, he's awful. No, I agree. You're right.
I did see Isaiah Buggs, I believe, landed in Detroit. I think.
Maybe you're the one that's our Michigan expert.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah. Former Steeler. Anything else for the good of the order tonight, gentlemen?
Yeah, hey, we
Bloody?
signed Jeremy McNichols, the running
Yes,
back.
I want to
who
talk
was in
about this.
Tennessee.
That was a very good signing.
That was a very good signing.
Ian,
Yeah.
lead the way.
Yeah, McNichols, he kind of showed some things over the last couple of years there. He was a backup to Derrick Henry, and when Derrick Henry was healthy and they threw McNichols in as a third down back, he can block. He's a pretty good receiver. Doesn't have long speed, but he's got like short area quickness to make some guys miss. He's really like exactly what we need as a guy who can spell Najee Harris. The thing he can't do is he can't be the feature back. So if you guys remember back to, well, you guys know on the show, listeners, if you remember back to Mewelde Moore was not only capable of being a third down back, he was able to step in as a starter for a few games and ran for like 121 yards the one game. McNichols is not that guy. Last year when Derrick Henry got hurt, they tried it like one game and were like, this doesn't work. They had to go out and sign like Donta Foreman and to bring the shell of his body.
Yeah, that's who we saw.
Donta Foreman was not. Nah.
But he was better at the Derrick Henry role
than McNichols was. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Because he's a power back.
Yes.
Right.
But that's all he's got left.
But what I'm saying is McNichol, I don't think can be a feature back. So it's like,
no, I agree.
Totally
if Najee
agree.
Harris gets hurt, you're going to be splitting the workload up.
Yeah,
McNichols
McNichols is not Mewelde Moore.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Perfect world. That's what I would love.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We all would.
But he's not that guy.
Yeah.
Real quickly, can we go back to the defensive line?
But I like the
both
McNichols
lines?
signing.
I do too. I think it was very under the radar, Ian, and I think it could pay
it's good.
big dividends. Ian or Ben, go ahead with the defensive line.
Real quickly, my concern along the lines is, and we've been talking about this since fucking February, counting on Tyson Alualu to come back at 35 after a broken ankle was not a great decision. That's hope. Having had multiple knee injuries myself, as I pointed out to you guys in the girl chat this week.
I'm gonna get so much hate mail from
the mean, nasty girl chat.
Send it to me this
send
week.
all hate mail to Steel Dad.
Yeah. It just piles up.
You don't have like a circular bin you can put it in?
Oh, I've got a file, buddy. I've got a file.
Having had multiple knee injuries, I can tell you that if your other leg is hurt below the knee, you're favoring that leg when you have a bad knee and it fucks your knee up even worse. Okay, so I get where Alualu's come from because his knee has been bad for a while.
Yep.
It precedes the ankle injury. All right, so I get that. But counting on him to come back at 35 and be productive was a gamble. Larry Ogunjobi with the foot injury before he showed up is a gamble. There are a bunch of gambles along the line. They drafted Leal, but he's not a finished product yet.
No, he's
skinny.
Work.
He's a project. He could be a great player at some point. He really could be a very good player at some point, but I don't think it's going to happen this season. The Steelers don't draft that way. They draft long-term, which I get and I agree with. You don't draft short-term. You don't do that. All right? That's something the fucking Browns would do, which is why they drafted Brandon Weeden once.
They did do that, in fact.
They did 48 when they
and
drafted
Trent
him?
Richardson in the same draft.
That's right.
He was 29.
They traded up to draft Trent Richardson.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And just real
But
quick.
hey, in their defense, Trent Richardson was a guy that was highly coveted by a bunch of teams.
He was.
No, yeah, that was a decent.
He got in, he got his money and said, "Fuck this." Anyway, getting back to the point, the lines, the defensive line is not a given. We looked at it when they made all these signings, and we had Tyson in place, and then Adams on top of that. And Adams is a guy who is good at penetrating, but is not good at the point of attack. He's not a guy who's great at the point of attack. He's not a guy who's stout there, holding it and two-gapping. He's not that guy. He's not Casey Hampton. Okay, he's not.
Who is? God damn it.
Yeah, he plays his role.
Nobody.
Just saying.
So the line is still a question along the defense, except for Cam, who's fucking money. I mean, he is. And then the offensive line, oh my fucking God. All right, Mason Cole. What the fuck? Why? You started this guy to be your starting center? Seriously? Really? James Daniel, solid player. Going to be really good. Kevin Dotson, I think he's gonna take this year as a challenge and kick some ass. It'll be fine. Dan Moore, excuse me.
Yeah.
At the left tackle, he ascended as the year went on last year. I think it'll be even better this season. I really do. Chuks Okorafor, I have some questions about still. I question that signing. Although, if you look at the details of that deal with Okorafor, it really is a one-year deal with a whole bunch of option years behind it.
Right.
All the guaranteed money is paid out. It's done. So it's like, what can you do, Chooks? Show us something and we'll keep you around. Or not, right? So, I mean, we'll see. It's not a horrible contract. Expensive one, though, for a guy you're not sure about. And I got a lot of questions along that offensive line. They look not good.
Well, and I would like to also mention that nobody's put football pads on yet.
Yeah, I get that.
They've got to go 4 days without pads, and then they can start knocking heads, so to
the
speak.
The line on the offense will be improved this season. But when you're as bad as they were last year, I mean, they were the worst line in the league last year. There's only one way to go. Yeah. That's up.
You'd hope.
So, I mean,
You would hope.
I hope they can be a top 15 line this year.
God, I would take that in a heartbeat.
It would be a tremendous improvement, but I don't count on that. I don't. All right. So both lines, both fucking lines are a question mark.
Hey, it's one of the trenches.
What I think is going to happen, and I really hope I'm wrong, is that this time next year, in February of next year, we're going to be going, are they finally going to address the fucking lines like they should have for the last 2 years? Finally?
It's possible. I'm hopeful. I'm going to remain optimistic.
That was a whole lot more air than I should have wasted on that.
It's all right. It's all right.
You know what? I've been drinking.
Audience, but
I've been drinking, and fuck off, all of you guys.
I want to wrap up tonight. All of us have been to Latrobe before, and for me personally, going to
Ryan
Latrobe
loves humidity.
Was always a special.
I'm going like Eminem right now. I got my hoodie up. Let's go.
And there are some Steelers fans who don't find going to Latrobe nearly as spiritually lifting as others. And
because they're wrong.
One of those would be a guy who had to spend a lot of time in Latrobe, not just as a fan, but shall we say as an employee. So, Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Please tell the listening and viewing audience why it's not such a great, wonderful, magical trip.
Back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. A little Michigan over there. But no. So here's what I'm going to say about this. 7 camps. Love the people of Latrobe. Love the businesses of Latrobe.
You call it Latrobe.
Latrobe, baby.
Fucking right, I do, because you learn the hard way. So anyway, but
Shout
the point
is, Starkies.
The point is that Latrobe is for winners, and this team hasn't won shit in like 15 years. So if there was ever a time,
coffee is for winners.
ABC always be closing. Does anybody know that reference?
Yes.
Yes.
For fuck's sake, do you guys not know that?
I've heard it. It's from
Glengarry Glenn Ross.
Ed Harris, Alec Baldwin, Jack Lemmon, Kevin Spacey. Who else is in it? Alan.
Get back on your tangent.
Whatever. Anyway, the point is, if there was ever a time when the Steelers could have switched roles and Tomlin could have made his own legacy, it was after COVID. They didn't have to go back to Latrobe. They didn't. They were in Heinz Field.
They did.
Apologies. They were in Acrisure Stadium, formerly Heinz Field, for 2 years, because the bottom line is, it's great for the fans. It's great for the businesses in Latrobe. It's great for the people in Latrobe. Do you really think the players want to go there? No, they don't. They do not want to go there. And your TJ Watts and your Cam Haywards can say, nobody's bigger than Latrobe, because that's the money quote for the media guys. But at the end of the day, none of those guys want to go anywhere. And as someone that spent 7 camps there, when day 7, every player wants to rip your head off when you ask them a simple question. It's like, why? Oh, I get it. It's humid as hell. It's terrible. The food is shitty.
Hey, I've been to that cafeteria. It was excellent.
But guess what? But guess what? You get to sleep in a double bed that somebody randomly threw at you like when you were in college. Okay. And this is no disrespect to the employees at St. Vincent College or anything like that, but it's literally living that dorm life.
Yep.
And sometimes that makes diamonds and sometimes that don't make shit. And I'm going to say this because, listen, the Steelers of the 70s are a totally different story. All right.
Yes.
That might have forged men back then, but now
there was no air conditioning back then.
But now, even with the air conditioning and the PS5s and the court furniture move-ins, or you might get a comfortable bed, it is not the same. So if there was ever a time when Tomlin was like, you know what? I'm tired of living off the Steelers' legacy. I'm going to live off my own legacy and keep it at Acrisure Stadium or whatever, where the fans can go and still watch the practices. It was now, but they didn't do it. Again, this is nothing against Latrobe, the people, the employees. I just truly feel that magic is not made in Latrobe.
Whatever.
Okay, I have a question.
Talk to me.
Ryan, at any point in your 7 years there, were you asked by a player to move any piece of furniture into his dorm?
Yes.
What was that furniture?
There's some mattresses.
As a fine lawyer, I am building my case.
You really were doing that?
How
did you respond to that shit?
Well, I think
I'm going to tell you this right now,
I'll
Ben.
get it there as soon as I can.
Go ahead.
Sir.
You wouldn't believe the shit that I did when I worked there.
Would you move a mattress into my room for me?
That was not part of my job, but was other duties as assigned. You know, like
what? So what was the oddest or strangest thing you had to take into a dorm room?
Can't
Sex
say
toys.
You
seriously can't say it?
No.
Wow.
What about the mini fridge?
Those were light. Those were easy.
Those weren't too bad. Yeah, I didn't think those were bad.
But
I mean, who was it? De Castro that used to come in with like a freaking Barca lounger or whatever the hell it was?
No, Dave was fucking simple and minimal. Like,
was he?
Like you'd be surprised at the number of guys that would come in there with like court furniture, and most of the time, 99% of the time it was already delivered. But maybe that 1% of the time where it's like, hey, something didn't happen. It's like, fuck, whatever, So again, I'm not gonna say that Latrobe is worse off than living at home.
Right.
But if I was a player, I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to go here. And I know the team players were like, oh, this is it. This is whatever.
You know what? Bottom line, Tomlin fucking loves Latrobe.
He does.
He loves
leaving Latrobe.
He loves the outcome of Latrobe, and it's not going to change. Bottom line, that's it. It's Mike Tomlin. It's nothing to do with whether or not TJ Watt or Cam Hayward like it or don't. Mike Tomlin loves it. So it's going to be a thing.
And that's great and wonderful. Today. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Tomlin won with Cowher's players like so many Steelers fans do.
Jeff Fisher only won.
But Sean McVay won with Jeff Fisher's players. That's right. That's my thing. Yes. Yeah.
But at what point does Tomlin say, I want to do this on my own?
Who cares?
Did you
just win, baby?
Did you have to go out and like do the thing with the flags to help land AB's helicopter?
No.
What about the hot air balloon?
No, but in 2010 or 2011, I had some beers. I can't remember the exact year. We had to drag the fucking tarps from some random ass softball field in St. Vincent to the main field.
The softball field.
And I saw it today.
That's a long way. It's a long
ball
walk.
boys still have have to lay out the tarps.
That's a long walk, dude.
Listen, if you ever been at the Fred Rogers Center, look behind that, and then imagine bringing 4 full fucking tarps at like 11:30 at night to the main field.
Okay, 11:30 at night, I can't really imagine, but I've been to that softball field, and it's a long fucking walk.
After you've had a 6-pack or two.
But the point is, it's up and over hills.
Yes.
Fuck that shit.
The point is, child labor violations here too.
No, the point is that they got poor ball boys bringing out the tarps, but they're not all ground screw people. So it's like, why are you going to Latrobe when you can just stay at Heinz Field where we have full-time people that can do that shit?
Fuck that.
You make a convincing argument, Ryan. The problem is Tomlin is never leaving there as long as he's the head coach. The problem is this. He's just not.
Tomlin, from his perspective, believes that forcing these guys to live together and eat together and play around together creates camaraderie, which he loves.
I agree.
Which is why he's not giving it up. It ain't happening. Forget it.
And he isn't wrong.
If they give it up, it's coming from the top. Yeah. They give it up, it's not coming from Mike. It's coming from somebody else.
And besides, St. Vincent's really cool.
I love it. I find it a spiritual and magical.
I don't really find it spiritual or magical.
After 7 times, you're like, what the fuck?
But I have never been there in July either. Haven't been there in July, so who knows?
It's really hot in July. I mean, those fields
I have a friend who keeps telling me, Ben, you need to come down. I will get you on the field. You can stand here and you can watch practices. It'll all be great. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come at some point. I promise I will. I'm seriously, like for a decade, she's been telling me this. And I'm like, yeah. I promise I will. I promise I will. And I still haven't gone.
Yeah. You know how hot it is in Portland right now, Ben?
It's really hot.
Yeah, it's hotter than that.
You know what?
And
I've been in Pittsburgh in the summer when it's fucking humid as hell. The whole East Coast can lick my ass.
It's worse.
I'm never living there ever. Ever.
It's in like a bowl. Like where they practice is like a bowl. And it's just it's really friggin' hot down on those fields.
That sounds awesome. I really want to go now.
That really builds camaraderie.
Yeah.
Hey, and on that note, we're getting the hell out of here. We've gone way past. In other words,
where are we? It's only a minute.
We're like an hour and
like a minute 17.
Minutes.
Whatever.
Holy
Fuck.
Shit. Anyway, for these guys, I'm signing off because we have more stuff to talk about next week. We'll be getting ready for preseason already, believe it or not.
Holy shit.
And I know preseason coming up already. Early next week, Hall of Fame game, Jacksonville versus the Raiders. I think it is. Can't wait for that. Really. Anyway, for these guys, this is me signing off. This has been the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Inc. of South Florida. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.